everybody, this is Feeqs, and we are back in our big, beautiful survival world. And, yeah, I got some bad news, actually. Last episode, we spent the majority of the time working on a mob switch, trying to solve a problem that is kind of a big problem in our world. It's these Endermen. And as you can see, we still have tons of mobs, which is not good. And then you can see all the Enderman damage that's done under here, and that's just this small part. So, yeah, unfortunately, I did not know that a few things actually. Apparently, spawn chunks no longer work the way they used to. They are no longer fully loaded at all times. So building anything in the spawn chunks really doesn't matter anymore. That must be a relatively new change. Additionally, and most importantly, you can see I have every single cell filled, but we still have mobs. The reason for that is apparently name tag mobs go into a different entity count. They no longer count as hostile mobs, and so these guys will not take up the hostile mob cap. So what that means is all these guys gotta go. The only way that we could have anything in here would be basically if they, or at least for the skeleton spawner, would be if we can get them to pick up armor or a bow or something to keep them from despawning, right? But that won't work either, because I believe even mobs that pick up something go into their own category. So I can't even have like them wearing their own like chest plates or something to count as hostile mobs. I believe they will go to a different mob counter as well. So even if I use this zombie spawner here and made them all carry like a piece of rotten flesh, they would have gone in their own little mob counter pool, and the mob switch wouldn't have worked anyway. So I was looking into it and seeing what mobs would count that wouldn't despawn to build a mob switch. And everything we built here may not be in vain. We could basically if we made a villager breeder and turned all of those villagers into zombie villagers after we tried trading with them, they will no longer despawn, but they will also go towards the hostile mob cap. So we could use that. I don't think there's anything we can do with the skeleton spawner. I think that thing's toast. So that's an option. The other option would be shulkers, which we're not doing. I guess it's pretty common and popular for people to use shulker boxes for mob switches, but nah, no thank you. And then there's a couple other options, but the one that caught my attention was actually wardens. So we can build a mob switch with wardens. Those are pretty easy to spawn in. You basically just have to stand or interact with a shrieker, and then it'll spawn in a warden. And those guys will not despawn if they're aggroed on some type of noise. So we can just make a noise machine. Not too hard. And they still count towards a hostile mob cap. So we just basically need to stand on a shrieker until it spawns in 75 wardens, and just have a noise machine, keep them occupied. And then if we ever want to disable it, we can just turn off the noise machine, and then they will naturally despawn. Or we could turn off the chunk loader, because we will need a chunk loader for that. One reason why I tried to go this direction was I didn't want to make a chunk loader. And apparently these chunks are no longer stay loaded all the time. So even if I built it here in the spawn chunks, I would still need a chunk loader anyway. So yeah, looks like I'm gonna have to build a chunk loader. But I do think the warden option's a good option. And I don't think it'll be very hard to build either. Like I think I could have this thing knocked out in like, I don't know, a fraction of the time that it took me to do everything I did last episode. So if I can get that done and get that completed, then we can definitely move on to some bigger and better projects this episode. So let me head to the deep dark and then we'll get working on that. Alright, so let's head on over to the deep dark biome that we have here. Gonna have to get our boat. Get past these guys a little bit. And yeah, it's been quite a while since I've been over here. Probably, I think, ever since the release of it. It's not too terribly far. And I did decorate the tunnel to it. Look at that. So, let's go ahead and hop in this portal. Alright, we are back in our ancient city for the first time since, it's gotta be at least 3 years or so. I think the last time we were here was in episode 8. And yeah, that was some time ago. But unfortunately, I do believe I went through this entire city and kind of wiped out all the shriekers and skulk sensors and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of wiped it all out. So I'm going to do some digging. Hopefully there's one that we missed or one that's going to be relatively close by to our portal. And I'll let you guys know when I find that. Okay, so I think we're at a good stopping point here, or at least a break point to show what we've got. Turns out I didn't have any shriekers left. I destroyed them all in the ancient city. So I ended up having to do some caving, and I found actually 2 of them. There's one right on the side of this wall. That's not terribly far from our portal. So you can kind of see the portal way down there. So not terribly far. And yeah, I kind of dug out the area and got everything kind of prepped. So I did some testing in a test world, and I did a lot of research on the wiki to look up like the, parameters that this thing requires and what it takes to spawn a warden and all that stuff. So I don't believe the warden will spawn. All right, I know it won't spawn on slabs because I definitely tested it out a bunch of times. But he will spawn on glass, so I have a glass ceiling here. So as long as I am standing on this shrieker, after 4 attempts, it'll spawn one right above us. And as long as he is distracted, he will not despawn. But the shrieker will not spawn another one unless they're over 24 blocks away, I believe. So we need to get him out of the area as quickly as possible so we can spawn the next one. There's really 2 good ways of doing that. I think we either drop them down, but we are at Y47, so there's not too much more until we hit bedrock. So that's probably not going to happen to get them out of range. So that means we'll have to take them up. So, and I brought some soul sand and some water so we can kind of, make a noise machine. We'll probably have like a little lever down here or something like that to turn on a noise machine. It'll distract them into a water elevator and then take them up 20, 30 blocks or whatever to get them out of reach as fast as possible. Then from there, we just need to have a holding cell large enough for about 70, 75 wardens. So they, don't have entity cramming. They don't kill themselves. And we just need a device up there, a noisemaker, to, keep them distracted so they don't despawn. So that way that's the whole point of this. And then the final thing we got to build is a chunk loader. So we'll probably put a chunk loader a couple. I think this needs to be like 3 chunks over or something, because this needs to be in the lazy chunk. So I think it's like 2 chunks over or whatever. They need to build chunk loader, and then this thing will be basically done. There's really not too much more to go on this. So I just need to dig out. The noisemaker is going to be really easy. I just basically going to have a lever, control it on and off, and it's just going to be a piston pushing a observer into a note block, causing the noise. So that'll attract the wardens over this way and then launch them up. And then basically do the same thing for 20, 30 blocks above. So that's pretty easy. That's not going to be hard. I think the hardest thing is going to be a chunk loader, because I haven't really made one before. Not in the newer versions, not the way they're done the new way. So I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I think I don't think we're too far off from getting this completely finished, done, and then we're off to building something else. So let me get this wrapped up and we'll see the finished product. Okay, so a little while later now, we kind of got everything fleshed out, so let's go through and walk that out. I don't have all the wardens up there, but this thing is definitely working. So if we stand on this, we should see one spawn right there. And then I have that noisemaker going, so he should just be attracted to that. We'll hop off this real quick, and he'll jump up there. So that's working good. I think I have about 15. So what I ended up doing was I put a dropper here with a pressure plate, so as they step on it, I can keep track of how many are in there. So I have 15 in there right now, or should have 15 up there right now. Let me turn those guys down a little bit. All right, so hopefully they're not too loud now. But yeah, so I have them dropping down into this chest or barrel to keep track of how many's in there. And then I also wanted to make sure once I have them all in there, I don't accidentally spawn too many more or anything like that. So I just put this on here because I kept using a piece of glass to cover this up so I didn't walk on it accidentally, because I kept doing that. And so I figured, let's just put a piston on it. So once this hits 2 stacks, it'll get a signal of 2. Oop. Yeah, okay, cool. Once this hits 2 stacks, this will get a signal of 2, and then it'll send power off to push that piston so I don't step on it automatically or accidentally or anything and spawn more. So that's what these bone blocks in here are for, because I only have 75 of the pumpkin pies, and then these bone blocks will get me up to 2 stacks. Okay, and then up here I did have to change a little bit. So I had to actually shrink the spawn area. The reason being is when they spawned all the way in the back, they were far enough away from that noise machine over here where they wouldn't lock onto it first. They'd actually lock onto me first. Because they can smell you, or sniff you or whatever. That's what that sniffing noise is. So when they spawned all the way in the back, they would actually sniff me, and then they'd just lock on and just stay right here. They didn't have time to trigger on that. I guess it's whatever they lock on first is what they pay most attention to. So just by blocking this off, it prevents them from spawning back here. And now just about every time, I don't think it's happened since I've done this, they will spawn in the area where the noisemaker makes contact. So we'll spawn another one real quick. There it goes, and he should be attracted to the noise and go right on in. And you hear that dropper kick in. So it's super easy. Should have 17 up there. It's just a matter of just standing on that. The other thing that's kind of nice is with this, it just pushed me right off. So I could technically AFK here until it's full. I don't know if I trust that, because I did get shot once, but I guess I could do that. But the main thing is it's so easy to walk onto it. I really want some way to prevent me from accidentally walking on it and spawning another one while I'm working on something. And And then additionally, let's go ahead and turn that way down now. And then additionally, I have, okay, so I have two buttons out here. I have one to turn the sound on and off. All right, that's controlled by that. And that actually works both sound machines. So I have one down here. That's what that one is. And then I have one up there where the wardens are at, which we can go up and see in just a second. And then the second thing I need to do is going to be add the chunk loader. So that's what this button does. It just triggers that, and I have like it hooked to a T flip-flop right there, so that'd be easy enough. And then I'm going to put the chunk loader or a couple of chunks over. So I was looking into that as well, since I've never really built one before. And unfortunately, the way I built this, it's on the verge of a couple chunks. So they're holding cells like right here. So yeah, it's split in between both chunks here. So that was a little concerning at first because I didn't pay attention to that. Because when I was originally looking into chunk loaders, apparently it keeps chunks loaded in a 3x3 area. So it'd be 1, 2, and then 3 would be chunks, and then 3. So basically 9 chunks would be the active loaded chunks. And then the lazy chunks are in a 5x5 area. And I did a little bit of Googling and research stuff like that, and I can have these guys in the lazy chunks. It'll still render them and count them as entities, so it'll still hold them as a mob cap. But the benefit of having them in the lazy chunk is they won't be moving, they won't be making noise, any of that stuff. So they'll still be rendered and count as towards the mob cap. So this will activate it anywhere in the world, but I won't have to worry about them causing lag and moving around and everything. So I basically just need to build 3 chunks over. So from here, I got this chunk, and then I'll dig out basically 2 more chunks, and that should keep all of this loaded and good to go. And then let's quickly go up there and look at the holding cell for these guys. It's a little bit of a maze. Hopefully they don't shoot me. But yeah, I kind of got the loading cell right there. And they're all distracted. I definitely don't want to go in there. But yeah, they're all right there in the holding cell. And yeah, so it'll basically just hold them in there until we want to turn off the mob switch. Which we really would only want to do to activate other mob farms. So I'm going to dig over a little bit. Get that chunk loader put in. I don't think it'll be too hard to build. And then we should get the rest of these guys filled up and see how it works. So I'll see you in just a second. Alright, so we just got our last one loaded in. We should have all 75 pies in here. We do. Should be none left in the dropper. So yep, we're good there. Now we just got to test it out and make sure it's working. We should have 75 wardens up there, which I believe we actually only need 70, but 75 puts us in a nice safe spot. So I think the best way to test this thing out would be to go over to our mob spawner and see if we have anything spawning. So let's go ahead and check that out. Luckily, it's not too far from this portal, so I'm getting ready to go in here and we'll see what happens. I didn't realize I deactivated my portal, so now I gotta fly all the way over here. But alright, so here we are. Let's go and turn that portal back on too, so we don't have to do that again. Alright, let's go ahead and pop that on just like that. And let's see. If our mob spawner is working, there should be 0 mobs falling down, which looks to be the case. This thing's usually flooded with mobs, so I don't think there's anything crazy going on. Yeah, so it looks like our mob switch is actually working, so that's great. Oh, I know what's going on. Okay. So I have some mobs up in here, but they're all just holding things, because I was messing with slime blocks. So once these guys die off, there should be no more mobs. I was messing with some slime stuff, I remember the last time I was here. So yeah. But yeah, I think this thing is working perfectly. No mobs are falling. It should be day or nighttime out, so maybe if we sleep, that'll increase the rates. Well, it should increase the rates. But if everything's working as intended, there'll be no mobs whatsoever. And I'm going to say that there's no mobs whatsoever. So this is perfect, working perfect. Awesome, awesome. I'm glad it works now. So that means we can now actually work on a different project other than a mob switch. So that is great news. Oh man, just look how amazing this is. Not an Enderman in sight. I don't have to worry about my precious podzol and grass getting destroyed, and oh man, it's perfect. Perfect. But unfortunately, this episode is already running long. We're approaching the 25-minute mark pretty quick. So I don't think that's going to leave me with a whole lot of time working on this or showing any big improvements on it. So we'll definitely start off with some improvements next episode. But I am just so happy we finally have this Enderman problem under control. And hopefully it remains that way. I really don't have a need to turn off that mob switch anytime soon. Because yeah, this just all this damage, it's insane. I feel like, look, he's even got a block right there. There's still one of them around. But yeah, look at all this. Like, I don't get it, man. I feel like they attack my world way worse than they do anybody else's. It is just so insane. And I'll show you some of the caves and stuff that are just crazy, man. They cause so much damage. It's just I just can't keep ranting about them. But anyway, yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. We're gonna try and tackle some more of the castle next episode, and probably place down a new building in the village over here. I have one that I've been working on. It's almost done, so we can get it added somewhere, find a good place for it. And then at some point, I do want to retackle that mine shaft thing and get that kind of operational as well. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I definitely tried my best this episode, so hopefully it shows. But if you guys have any concerns, questions, or anything like that, definitely leave a comment. I love comments. But until then, I'll see you next time. Take care.